All right, welcome back to another episode of Ian Reviews Sports. This time it's Ian Reviews Rugby, June 28th, 2021. I'm in my Rick and Morty shirt, something different. I do have a USA Rugby pullover I could wear, but because it's 40 degrees Celsius here in Vancouver where I live, I'm not doing that. That sounds really bad. That sounds like a terrible idea, so I'm not going to. So I got the USA rugby hat on for this video. So hopefully you enjoy the Rick and Morty shirt, hopefully you enjoy the hat, and hopefully you enjoy this video. So first we have British Irish Lions stuff that will discuss. Quest for Gold Sevens, that was the Rugby Sevens tournament that took place in Carson, California this weekend in preparation for the 2020 Olympics in Tokyo. That's going to start a little less than a month from now. And then the Rugby Europe Championships. So there was a bunch of championships in Europe under the Rugby Europe name. So we'll discuss that as well. And in case you're wondering, I know they've released the groups for the Sevens tournament at the Tokyo Olympics. I'm going to be discussing those tomorrow, Tuesday, and I'm going to give my review on the groups that are going to be happening for Tokyo 2020 Olympic Rugby. I'm excited for that. That's going to be really cool. First, though, I will start with the Maori All Blacks Samoa game. So the Maori All Blacks took on Samoa in Wellington on Friday night. I watched the game. Started at 12 a.m. Friday night, Saturday morning. I don't know how you like to do that. Pretty much midnight on Friday night, my time here in Vancouver. Watched the whole game. Shout out to the Rugby Network who showed the game in full. It was based off the Sky Sports feed. It was a great game. It was a really fun game. It was a really good broadcast. Fun to watch from beginning to end, even if it was at midnight on a Friday night. Really, by the end of it, I was exhausted and I was tired, but still, great game. So Maori All Black tries. Stevenson got 2. Lanul got 1. Ashton Dixon got 1, and Douglas got 1. So basically, 5 tries for the Maori All Blacks against Samoa. I don't know. They might have said during the broadcast. I don't think I took it down as a note. I don't know when the last Maori All Blacks game were. And in case you don't know, this is the kind of the backup or the B team for the All Blacks. So essentially, you have your All Blacks New Zealand national men's team. The Maori All Blacks are like the step below, basically like filler guys who are coming, backup guys who are waiting to get their turn on the All Blacks team. Conversions, Terry Black, he had 3 conversions. I'll say it now. I mean, I'm going to mention this again later on. I'll say it now. The weather conditions in Wellington on Friday night, Saturday there, were horrific. Terrible winds, terrible wind. You could see, the water coming down. Everybody was soaked. And yet, I think it was a perfect kicking game because we had 3 conversions, 2 conversions. So we had 5 conversions from the All Blacks. We had 1 conversion from Samoa and 1 penalty from Samoa. So basically, I think they were 7 for 7 proper kicks wise. So not the inaction kicks, like set down, put it on the tee, kick it. 7 for 7. So terrific job by everybody kicking. Terry Black got 3 conversions. Ione got 2. Fome got the only try for Samoa, and Rodney Iowa got the only conversion. He would get a pen early in the second half. That would be the last scoring for Samoa. For Samoa, it was a good but tough game. They weighed more. Their pack wise was more than the Maori All Blacks, but they were just outmatched. Pretty much, they had a good 20 minutes, and then after that, they were just outmatched. Couldn't keep up. So nice job from the All Blacks, especially in the second half, like just wearing down Samoa, making them grind for every possession. It was a tough finish, but great job for the All Blacks. And again, first appearance from Samoa since the 2019 World Cup. So since the Japan World Cup, a year and a half ago, no, 2.5 years ago now. What is it? It's June. It's been a while. It's been almost 2 years. almost 2 years since the Rugby World Cup. So it's been almost 2 years since Samoa has played team-wise, national team-wise, a rugby match. No crowd in Wellington due to the COVID-19 restrictions. New Zealand and Australia have had some crowds, big crowds, full crowds even, attending matches, but because I believe there was a case or two that came up in the Wellington area, there was no crowd just to be safe. Obviously, restrictions are a lot more tighter there because they've handled it a lot better than most of the world. They've done a tremendous job in New Zealand and Australia. Wonderful kicking display despite awful weather conditions. You love to see it. I don't mind a good kicking game. Not every game needs to be, featuring kicks back and forth. This one was quite a few box kicks, but overall, I thought it was a terrific game from anybody who kicked the ball. I thought there was maybe one or two poorly kicked balls, but outside of that, like the set kicks, like the conversions and the pens were pretty much perfect. So you couldn't have asked for more there. Samoa matched well size-wise. I think they showed at the beginning that they weighed more pack-wise in kilos than the Maori All Blacks. I don't have the exact numbers. They just made too many mistakes. Passing-wise, missed tackles, and they made quite a few tackles, but they missed a few more, which hurt. Just mistakes that you're going to have when you haven't played in almost 2 years. It's just small mistakes like that, and you can work on it. Not a big deal. Impressive passing by the Maori All Blacks, which led to the Stevenson tries. Couple of terrific tries by Scott Stevenson, I think is the name. Excellent work. I think the second one he had in the second half was just a walk-in. He had a walk-in try, and I think there was the second one, and he got in the second half. Just a terrific passing game. Terrific teamwork shown by the Maori All Blacks, and it was fun to watch. You could tell they were in sync, they were ready, they were prepared, they came, set to play, and that's why they won 35-10. Halftime score was 21-7 for the Maori All Blacks. So you could see at halftime, like, it was still relatively close, and Samoa would need to really work hard to get into, range to win, and it just didn't happen. It was 21-10 at one point because Samoa got the 10 from Iona, but that was it. That was the last score for Samoa. Pretty much they would get three, like the All Blacks got 3 tries after that, and by that time it was over. They play again July 3rd for me, July 4th in Auckland. July 2nd for me, July 3rd in Auckland. So July 3rd to Saturday, they're in Auckland. And then July 2nd for me is when I'll watch it. I think it's an earlier kickoff time, too. The first game, the game this past weekend, I think was at midnight for myself. So 7 o'clock in Auckland, 7 p.m. in Auckland. I think it's now a 4:30 p.m. kickoff time in Auckland. So that's great. I think that, and as long as the game's on the Rugby Network, makes it accessible for everybody in North America, I think that's great for the game. You'll love to see it. I'm expecting, I don't know if Samoa will win the second game, but they should at least make it closer. It should be a more competitive game for 80 minutes, I would think. Let's talk about the British Irish Lions and Japan. They met in the Vodafone Lions 1888 Cup. The 1888 Cup is meant to signify when the first Lions tour was to New Zealand, I believe, in 1888. So that's how long they've been playing the British Irish Lions. Final score 28-10. Lions over Japan. Lions led 21-0 at halftime. British Irish Lions tries include Josh Adams, Duan Vandermeer, Robbie Henshaw, and Todd Byrne. Those were the 4 tries for the British Irish Lions: Adams, Vandermeer, Henshaw, and Byrne. I thought that was really, really great passing, skillful passing, good communication, good chemistry, including the Byrne try at the end. I thought was terrific. Dan Bigger got all 4 conversions. He was named the man of the match because of that terrific kicking game, and that's without Stuart Hogg, a couple other guys who are used to kicking. And Bigger nailed all 4 conversions. So in case you're wondering, kicking should be set for the Lions. I wouldn't worry about the kicking coming into the Lions tour of South Africa. Himeno got the only try for Japan. Yuki Tamura got the conversion and the pen for Japan. So Japan and Samoa each put up 10 points over the past weekend. Good kicking display from Yuki Tamura. I thought he had a terrific game as well. This is the first ever meeting between the Lions and Japan. So Japan is coming over, so they did the test match. They did the match with the Lions, which took place at Murrayfield Stadium in Edinburgh. And now Japan is off to Ireland to play them on July 3rd in Dublin. So pretty much two strong games from Japan. They had a exhibition test match, whatever you want to call it, against the Japanese club team Sunwolves. That took place a little over 2 weeks ago. So that was kind of their prep game to get ready for the Lions. And this is what happened. They lose 28-10. Not a bad loss by any means. The Lions are all-stars. It's a team comprised of all-stars playing together. And they, there's no shame for Japan in losing to the Lions. Like that's not a bad loss at all. 16,500 fans in attendance at Murrayfield Stadium in Edinburgh. It's obviously challenging with putting fans in the seats right now in some parts of the world. That includes the UK as they try and get normalized there. But then there's also the controversy about how there's a lot of fans at the Euro games this year. I don't need to get into that debate. It's up to the governments to do what they think is best, and they thought that 16,500 fans in attendance at Murrayfield Stadium was best. So there you go. And part of the other reason why this was a controversial thing is that this was the first home fixture for the British-Irish Lions since 2005 when they beat Argentina in Cardiff, I believe it was in 2005. Like, it's been 16 years since they had a home game, and that's why people were hoping that there was going to be more fans in attendance, because it's rare for the Lions to play at home. They're usually in Australia, South Africa, or New Zealand. So, anyways, they got to play at home in front of fans. That's the most important thing. The big news, obviously, coming out of this game was Alan Wynne-Jones leaves with an injury at the 7-minute mark. Dislocated shoulder is apparently the word with him. He will not be returning for the rest of the tour, which is just terrible because first of all, Alan Wynne-Jones, one of the coolest, best players in the world. He deserves to be captain, which he was. He was named captain for this Lions team. Deserved to be named captain. And the Lions lose a big piece. Jones obviously doesn't get to take part in, it might be his last Lions tour, maybe, possibly. Yeah, you hate to see it. I wish nothing but the best for the guy. I hope he's doing well. I hope he's recovering well. And now it's up to the Lions to compete without him. So Connor Murray named the new captain in replace of Alan Wynne-Jones. Kind of a surprise pick. I think there were some people who thought that Ken Owens, Owen Farrell, pick another guy. I don't think many people thought that Connor Murray was going to be the captain for this team, and yet Connor Murray is the captain for the team. He's the new captain. He's going to be leading the team into South Africa. They're already there now as I record this video. So good luck to Connor Murray. Best of luck to Alan Wynne-Jones. I hope you do well. I hope you recover well, and I can't wait to see you back on the field maybe in the fall, possibly with some more autumn internationals with Wales. That would be really cool. Also leaving this game with Justin DePerk. He left in the second half. Eventually, he's withdrawing from the team as well because of a shoulder injury. So you have Wynne-Jones out. You have Justin DePerk out. Hamish Watson was supposed to play this weekend, but he had back spasms, so he could not participate. Xander Ferguson was supposed to play as well. He had a concussion, I believe, in training camp this week, or I actually might have been swapped. I think Watson might have had the concussion, and then Ferguson had the back spasms. But either way, there's 4 big injuries right there coming into after Saturday. 4 injuries for the Lions, so that's tough. You hate to see that. Josh Navidi replaced him in the game. I don't know if Navidi gets a start for the Lions during their tour in South Africa. He might play against one of the club teams like the Emirates Lions, or the Sharks, or somebody along those lines. He might start against, but not against the Springboks in those test matches. Possession, Japan had 56% of the possession. British Irish Lions had 44%. I thought that was fascinating. That sounds like a Japanese game where they try and control the possession. They're trying to keep the ball out of the Lions' hands. And they did that for the most part. They had over half possession, and they still lost 28-10. And that's just how good the Lions are. They're quick, they're fast, they're smart. It's very tough to go up against them on any given day. It helps when you lead possession, but that doesn't guarantee you a win. Turnovers conceded. Japan had 17 turnovers, which was part of the reason why they lost. They turned the ball over way too many times. Again, this is only their second match, first against an international team in 2 years since the Rugby World Cup in Japan. 12 turnovers conceded by the British Irish Lions. Still a little higher than I expected. I thought it would be less than that, but 12 stood out to me as amount of turnovers conceded. Penalties, 13 penalties for the British Irish Lions, 12 for Japan. So that stat's relatively the same. That's a little bit higher than you'd like if you were the Lions. You'd like that stat to also be a bit lower. We'll see if that changes or if that's going to be part of the team going forward, is being a team that takes a lot of penalties, a team that gets called for a lot of penalties. Something to keep an eye on in the next couple of weeks when they have a few matches. To the British Irish Lions, they play July 3rd versus the Emirates Lions, which I believe is taking place at Ellis Park Stadium in Johannesburg. So be sure to watch that. And then Japan's next match is July 3rd versus Ireland. They're going to be playing in Aviva Stadium in Dublin. So look out for that. So there's your British Irish Lions, Japan recap of the Vodafone Lions 1888 Cup. I hope you enjoyed that. Quest for gold. So we'll try and get through this here. This was the sevens tournament that took place at Dignity Health Park in Carson, California. This was kind of a tune-up event ahead of the Olympics, which is going to take place in about a month. I believe the first 7 pool round games take place on July 26th. So in the women's tournament, so the U.S. beat Great Britain in the finals. So the U.S. technically won gold. Actually, it was a tie in the final. But because the U.S. and Great Britain played so many times, the U.S. won more of the games against one another. So the U.S. got gold. So they finished with a record of 4-0-1. That one tie beaten against Great Britain at the very end in the final game. And then Mexico and Jamaica, not Japan, Mexico and Jamaica finished with a record of 2-3. They mostly played against one another throughout the weekend. USA ties Great Britain in the final, but a chance due to more victories. Mexico and Japan split their last 4 matchups after dropping their opening games. So the USA women's team is probably, I would think, the favorites coming into the Tokyo Olympics. They have speed, which is important. They've been healthy for the most part. They're looking set. They're looking ready to go. I'd be hard pressed to pick somebody else outside of the U.S. I am a little bit biased, but they're looking really good. They're looking really sharp, especially this past weekend against Great Britain, which should be another competitive team. Taking 2 matches out of 3 against them, no shame in that. On the men's side, Argentina took home gold on the men's tournament. They went 5-1. Second place was Great Britain. They went 4-2. The U.S. went 3-3. Korea was 0-6 on the weekend. Not a great weekend for Korea. Argentina loses the final game to Great Britain, but they finished with the best record. So the men's tournament and the women's tournament was a little bit different. The men's just played a round robin against one another, and whoever got the most points and the most wins won the actual quest for gold. The women's tournament, they did standings, and then they did semifinals, and then the gold medal and third place. So pretty much a little different, but that's how the U.S. won gold at the women's, and the men's team finished third. 2016 silver medalists at the Olympics, Great Britain. They had a good showing, a 4-2. That's not a bad showing. They're looking really good as well. Both the women's and the men's Great Britain team are looking sharp. Where you have the combination of English, Scottish, Irish, and some Welsh players together on the same team. They're looking really good, really solid. U.S. used 20-plus players this weekend, getting everyone prepped. So I think that was part of the reason why the U.S. finished lower in the standings, because they're trying to get everyone prepared. They're trying to get everyone ready, trying to put in as many bodies as they can to make sure everybody's in game shape. So you're probably sacrificing results this weekend in hopes of getting good results in Tokyo in a few weeks. There's a good chance Korea finishes last at Tokyo. If you haven't seen the teams for the Tokyo Olympics on the men's tournament, it's a loaded group. And Korea last season, 2019-20 HSBC World Rugby Sevens series, Korea wasn't even a core team. I think they finished last at the Los Angeles event, and they didn't even play in the Vancouver event. They only played in one event, and they only got 1 point because they finished last. So Korea will probably struggle. They're in an interesting group. Again, I'll talk about that. I don't want to spoil that, but they're in an interesting group as well. But in terms of quest for gold sevens, hopefully this will lead to more sevens events being played in North America. We're expecting the Canada Sevens to take place at BC Place in Vancouver during September of some time. I'm guessing the weekend of September 18th and 19th. But we'll see. This is all just in hopes. This is all just kind of, dipping our toes in the water, shall we say, in North America, getting events going. Rugby Europe Championships. So Georgia beat the Netherlands 48-15 in the men's 15 final. Georgia is the 2021 REC, that's Rugby Europe Championship, men's champion. That's 20 REC wins for Georgia, who are just killing it compared to everyone else. Really good stuff from them. I'll throw this out there. Is it time for the Six Nations conversation again? There was a bit of a conversation when Italy was just getting the doors blown off them in the Six Nations in the fall and the spring. And people are like, well, maybe we can put in Georgia to replace them. Maybe we add Georgia as another decent team. I don't think Georgia is anywhere near like England, France, Wales. They're not quite on that level at the 15. I think they're in a good spot now where they can just keep winning, keep going up against teams closer to them than, England, Wales, France, etc. I do think that teams like the U.S., like Canada, like Japan, like Samoa, Italy, like all those teams who are hovering maybe from like 5 to 15 in the world rankings, they should be looking at Georgia as a competitive team that they can play in friendlies. Now, Georgia is going to be traveling to South Africa. They might already be there right now. They're going to be playing the Springboks in 2 test matches, which is going to help the Springboks prepare for the British Irish Lions. And that's great. I think we should see more of that. I'd love to see Georgia go to South Africa. I'd love to see Georgia go tour Ireland, Wales, England. Like, I like to go see them play maybe once a year, once every 2 years. I just don't know that the Six Nations is right for them. It doesn't make a lot of sense for me right now to say that Georgia should be in the Six Nations. But nevertheless, great win for Georgia. Kudos on the 2021 REC Men's Championship. Shout out to the Netherlands, by the way, for making their first REC appearance, and they got to the final. The Dutch are top 30 in the world in rugby. They're not top 20. They're not making the Rugby World Cup anytime soon. Pretty young team. They're still developing. They're still growing. Wasn't expected to be here, so this was just a nice weekend. Just happy to be here and to get to the final against Georgia. Doesn't matter that they got blown out. They're just happy to be there. Men's sevens. So Spain beats Lithuania 47-5. Spain, who were 19th in the men's seven standings at the time of the stoppage. So during the World Rugby Sevens series, Spain was 19th. I think that's 19th. They were 19th at the time of the stoppage. So they're growing and they're getting better as well. They win the REC Men's Sevens tournament this year. Winless in pool stage, Lithuania upset Portugal and Russia to make the final. Kudos to Lithuania. Again, similar to the Netherlands, no one thought they would get to the final, and they did, and they got the doors blown off them. Nevertheless, kudos to them for getting there, for making a final. Hopefully it can lead to something greater and something better. We'll see, though. Who knows? This might be the start of something great. Might be the start of something big. None of these teams will be in Tokyo. I don't think Spain will be in Tokyo. I'll have to check just to be sure. I don't think Spain are, but I'll give one more check. But they shouldn't be. But look for Spain and Russia to be in Vancouver. If we're gonna have a regular 7 series event like we have in the past, then Spain and Russia should be there. Ideally, that's what you're hoping for. And then on the women's side, I believe it was the 7s that was held this weekend. I don't think the 15s were. They just had the Women's Six Nations tournament recently, so yeah. And in case you're wondering, so Rugby Europe is meant for the teams that are not in the Six Nations. So the Six Nations are like the top teams, like the England, France, Scotland, Ireland, Wales. All those teams are in a league of their own called the Six Nations. And then Rugby Europe is for all the European teams that are not those teams, like Georgia, Romania, Spain, Russia. You get the deal. Portugal. So on the women's 7s, and I said that knowing Scotland was in the women's 7s final. That's because Scotland's women's team for 7s, not as good. They're still growing and they're still developing. It's different all over. It's not centralized all over yet. So the Russian women's 7s win the second leg, this time in Moscow. They also won the first leg in Lisbon, Portugal, about a month ago. So they won both legs. Probably the best team, 7s team in Europe right now. Scotland finished second with a surprise run. Not as surprising as Lithuania and Netherlands, but still a pretty surprising result, all things considered. I think they kind of got lucky and got their way into the finals in that regard. Women's 7 starts July 29th at Tokyo 2020. So basically for the Olympics, the women's tournament starts July 29th. We'll be covering that here at Speak Your Piece. I can't wait for the 7s tournament. It's going to be great. So that's Ian Reviews Rugby for June 28th, 2021. Be sure to tune in tomorrow when I review the actual pools for the Tokyo Olympics for the rugby tournament, both the men's and the women's. Be sure to tune into that on Tuesday. Thank you very much for watching this video. Be sure to like the video. If you have any comments, if you have any questions, if you have any concerns, put it in the comment section below. And also be sure to subscribe to the channel for more content just like this. Again, thank you very much for watching. We'll talk to you soon. Peace out.